Hello everyone, and welcome to another light novel review. I am the Rat, and this is The Rat's Nest. Today we're talking about a volume that I quite enjoyed, as the saying goes. Reign of the Seven Spellblades, Volume 7. This was a goodie. I did quite enjoy this one. If you saw my Volume 6 review, I was not the biggest fan of Volume 6. It was fine, but it never really grabbed me, right? It especially didn't grab me like Volume 5. That's my favorite volume of Reign of the Seven Spellblades. But Volume 7 was very fun. I really enjoyed this one. It was pretty simple, basically all revolving around the little tournament, right? The little combat tournament, the bulk of the book being about Oliver and Nano's and Yuri's team fighting against everyone, and that was very fun. Get a little bit of Katie and Teresa's team at the end there, and we get a very fun fight against Vanessa in the final chapter, alluding to her probably being the next one to the next educator professor to be killed by Oliver and his gang. So this was a very fun volume, all in all, if not relatively simple. So let's get right into it, kind of beginning a little bit. We get to see it's the third year has started, right? We're in the third year now. There's been 3 volumes for the first year, 3 volumes for the second year. This keeps up. 8 and 9 will be third year, and 10th will be fourth. So we get to see kind of, okay, new class of freshmen coming in. We get to see our guys in a couple of different situations. We get to see Katie come in, be a girl boss. We get to see Pete be a girl, but that's so true. We could see Pete be a girl boss, you know. it's so true. Oh my gosh. And we get to see Guy be cool. And we also get to see that Dean from Teresa's little group has a crush on Katie, and Rita from Teresa's group has a crush on Guy. Interesting. Maybe that's who Guy pairs off with. Obviously, Katie has some hots for Oliver, as does everyone else in the Sword Roses except for Guy. So I don't know. Maybe Dean is for her. I don't know. I mean, Pete didn't get anyone from the second years because he has Oliver, and that's so cute, isn't it? So it's just cool to see them, be in the third year and kind of get to see a little bit of how much they've grown. Kinda, get to see. Okay, they're more legit now. They're third years now, right? Fourth years, right? They're still underclassmen, but they're at the tip top of underclassmen. Fourth year, they're upperclassmen. And that's going to be cool. That's going to be cool to see whenever they finally reach that point. But their third year is not disappointing. They're very comfortable with the stuff they do. Getting to see Katie with her Griffin, and then Pete being involved with his more involved with his combat and his confidence there, and Guy with his plants, and just the accomplishments that they've done in the past 3 years. Throughout the past 6 volumes that we've seen. It's cool, especially comparing it to the first years now and remembering back to whenever they were all in their first year, and obviously being a bit more fresh on our minds since I'm recording this while the anime's airing. I have no clue when this is going to go up, but as of the time of recording, the anime's airing. So getting reminded of that is cool. It's cool to remember how far they've come. And then, so the little tournament thing is kicking off, and this is the rest of the volume, right? So third year started, and the tournament thing's kicking off. Going to have presidential election implications. I assume that plotline is going to be wrapped up in Volume 8 since it's been going for 2 volumes. It's interesting. Right? It's probably going to be Vera, but I could also see maybe if it takes a little darker turn, maybe Wally wins. I don't know. We'll have to see. But so the little tri-game, so they're getting in groups of 3, right? And so Guy, Pete, and Katie team up, right? The week 3, right? So you think, okay, well, Shella, Nano, and Oliver are going to team up, but Shella actually doesn't, which is interesting. She teams up with Stacy Cornwallis and Faye, and that's interesting. She's like, oh, I don't want to team up with you guys because we'd be too strong, and my dad organized this, so it seemed rigged, but I get that. I completely understand. And it left that open for Nano and Oliver to team up with Yuri, the teacher spy from last volume. He did not die this volume. I said at the end of last volume I thought he was going to die this volume. That didn't happen. I'm extending it a volume. I think he dies next time. I think he dies because his character is kind of tied into what's his name? The Necromancer. I can't remember it off the top of my head. Goodness, Rivermore, Cyrus Rivermore. I'm unprepared, right? His thing is kind of tied into that, and kind of figuring out, okay, being again an investigator as to who killed the 2 professors. He's probably going to die next volume, he can't last forever because he's just a thing created by one of the professors who I can't remember off the top of my head. I'll have to look back at the end of Volume 6. But it was fun to see him here. Yuri is a very fun character. It's going to be sad to see him go whenever he does. The longer he sticks around, the more I like him. And he was especially very fun in this volume. Him, Oliver, and Nano, I really enjoyed their interactions throughout the volume, and them teaming up was fun. Obviously, we got more political stuff. Alvin Godfrey's cool. All that. The Leon Ciro, the Leo guy, the guy who got a boner last volume. That was certainly a scene of all time. Certainly one of the scenes of all time. We got them. They're going head to head. So whoever wins these, kind of has a lot more sway. It's interesting. It adds an extra level of stakes here, right? It kind of similar to last volume with the broom sports. It kind of adds an extra level of stakes, and I really do think that with this election is going to have ramifications for the rest of the series, and that's why I kind of think maybe Wally wins, because Milligan winning would be the easy way out. But I don't know. Maybe there's a dark turn there, a quote unquote dark turn there, and Wally wins. But so the competition itself was interesting. So we have Nano, Oliver, and Yuri, and they train together to kind of get used to each other. It was interesting, right? Because obviously Yuri being an unwitting and an unknowing spy, but a spy all the same. I wonder, he's spending a lot of time with Oliver. I wonder if he doesn't pick up on something that can maybe trace him back to Null Halford. I say Null Halford. I say that's Oliver's past name. Null. We didn't get any Null moments. This one we didn't get any Null moments. So we got him thinking about his Spellblade during his fight. But all in all, it's interesting to see him spend more time with Oliver, because is he gonna pick up on something? That would be obviously very bad. But it's also very interesting. And so they practice together. You have the first little preliminary round where it's like they're just kind of getting through. Interesting enough, all the main characters pass and press on. Cool. Awesome. The second round is really where it matters. I think that the setup of the tournament is interesting enough, where they're giving the younger classes an advantage. But with Oliver's round, you have the introduction of two new key characters, Rose Mistral and Ames, or Amy's. I'm going to say Ames. Ames? Ames. I'm going to say Ames. Mistral and Ames, because that's how I read them. I could be pronouncing that absolutely incorrectly. And these were two interesting characters. I'll admit that I wasn't as huge on Mistral. Ames was Ames. I'm pronouncing it Ames. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. If you know the correct pronunciation, please correct me. Please correct me. Yeah, I'm calling her Ames, right? Ames was definitely the more interesting one of the two because of her false Spellblade. I thought that was an extremely interesting technique. But we get her group and Mistral's group and a third group, Liebert, teaming up. They're the three groups against Oliver and his group. And so they're going to 3-on-1 him because they're like, look, they would destroy any of us, if their team versus ours. So we're gonna team up and take him out. And so that was interesting. They get into their arena, and it's like the magic stone around and all that. I thought it was really cool how Oliver gets to the top, they have height advantage, but then Liebert's team constructs a golem that's a building. That's a really cool concept, and it's made all the better by the magic stone on the ground. And so then they have the height advantage, and they're using that to snipe them with their own golems that everyone's using to look around, right? And then Mistral's using his shadow clones, or his splinters, I think they're called, to disorient them, and then Ames comes in, takes Nano's arm. This is really interesting. I've always really enjoyed the magic in Reign of the Seven Spellblades. I think it can really shine in a lot of areas. The big area I think it shines in is the fight in Volume 5 against Enrico, and I'm very, very much looking forward to Vanessa's fight and the other professors. But this was an extremely engaging fight with just not only the magic that's used, but the strategy as well. All the different stages of the fight felt really impactful and really important, and I think that is super important in a fight, kind of like where you have the multiple different stages of the fight that have their own deciding moments, right? I think that was great, from them there to running into the forest and defeating Mistral and his team, kind of, except for all except for him, and just Oliver and Nano being the goats there, and then Ames stepping in to save him just barely. And then they go to take down Liebert and his golem, and that was an extremely interesting siege arc. Again, just kind of okay, if we get into a one-on-one fight with this team, we're losing, right? That is just, we are not strong enough to beat them one-on-one. So then, how do we stop that? And the other teams having to work around Nano, Oliver, and Yuri, that's just so interesting. And the way that the magic is set up and the whole systems and everything is really cool. And all the stuff with the golem especially was super cool, where, they're sitting on the thing and they can determine where they are because of the skin, and they walk on the walls because they're less sensitive. That's really interesting. And then just the magic that's used to get inside, and then finally they do get inside, but then Spaghetti-O, right, they blow it up, right, and everyone survives except for Yuri, who gets tricked by Ames and then uses her fake Spellblade, which is really cool. I'll get to that in a second, to defeat him. And then there's one down. I also want to talk a little bit more on in the forest, which was interesting. Them looking through and trying to get through the shadow clones, kind of funny shadow clones, right? I'm gonna say getting through the little clones there. Just trying to determine who is the real one, and just the strategy that went in there too, I think was really good, and just all around a really great use of magic and a really great use of strategy that led to just an amazingly engaging fight. That was also just written very well, like word to word written very well. That once again made it extremely engaging. This kind of thing I can really appreciate. When fights are written as well as this, and it's elevated Reign of the Seven Spellblades to a very it's definitely one of my favorite series right now. If you couldn't tell from the 4-volume reviews, soon to be 5, right? I absolutely love it. I think that it's great. And then so Liebert's down, and we get to essentially the final. Yuri's down too. We get to essentially the final stand. Oliver and Nano versus Team Ames. Liebert at the end, who creates a wall, and then Mistral, who creates, I think, a couple fake clones before eventually just going down himself. He didn't have much magic left, right? And then it gets down to the final wire. The magic in the field itself activates and does an anti-gravity field, and so then that separates Ames and Oliver and Nano and the other two, right? So then Ames versus Oliver, this was a fun fight because of Ames' fake Spellblade, and it is essentially in her personal area, right? She uses her magic to slow down light. And this is such a cool concept. So she uses her magic to slow down light. And then with light slowed down, she then moves really slowly and attacks, right? So you can't hear anything. You can't, but you see her not moving because the light is slowed down. But then before you know it, she stabbed you. That is extremely interesting. Like, that's a really cool use of magic. And yeah, it is. I mean, it's not as good as a Spellblade, right? It's not a Spellblade. But it's a really interesting. Yeah, no, most people are going to lose to that. Like, that's absolutely insane. I loved Oliver's thoughts here. Like, she called it the Ames family Spellblade. Oliver's like, look, if it's a Spellblade, I've lost, right? Like, I could counter it with my own, but I'm not going to do that. Why would I? There's literally no point for me to. If she has a Spellblade, I've lost. But if not, there's a chance, right? I loved him referencing his own Spellblade. I thought that was really cool. But he's like, look, okay, why did Yuri die? Right? Why did Yuri go down? Like, he's like, I can't see anything. He's like, I'm not going to be able to react fast enough. He's like, so he remembers from his mom. And she's like, look, you've always been bad about this. You just have to trust in yourself and do that kind of thing. So he looks in and he focuses on his space. He doesn't look. He focuses in on everything in his space. And he senses her moving and he goes so slow because she is moving slow. So he's able to easily parry and defeat her in one move. But whenever, like, after he's even done that, he still just sees her standing right in front of him because that's how much light has slowed down. It's really interesting. And then, of course, she gets defeated. And that was such a cool little fight because it was a really interesting use of the magic here, right? A pseudo Spellblade was super cool to read about and to read through, and just the technique itself was really cool. And then obviously Oliver himself getting kind of a little boost of him realizing, like, look, like, I can't rely on my eyes, right? I have to rely on the spatial awareness around me, right? After he got his little physical boost last volume, after destroying his body in volume 5, right? He now has another thing to kind of come up to it, and just really focusing on that. super interesting, just using all these systems in here, and then to have it decided by that one blow thing. It was really cool. It was really well written. She's defeated. Oliver and Nano make short work of the other 2 team members, and they win. And that was really cool. It's really cool to see them win. And I really enjoyed them overcoming the 3-1 deficit there. That was really cool. And I'm looking forward to kind of the finals. I think next volume is really going to focus on Rivermore, and I'll talk about them more at the end of this video. But it's going to be really interesting to see them in the finals. And I loved that they overcome the 3v1. That they were able to plan their way out of it and to fight their way out of it. And there was just some great moments, some great planning, just overall an extremely well-written fight. Bokuto Ono definitely has a talent for that, and this series is definitely set up with the systems in place to make these extremely interesting fights that I just absolutely love to read. And that's part of the reason why I can't wait for next volume, because it's gonna be some fights, and I'm really looking forward to it. Then to end off the volume, kind of, we got the Katie's team and Teresa's team in their thing, and they lost to Andrews, Rossi, and a third one whose name I cannot remember off the top of my head. But they lost to that team. That was the stronger team, right? And so they put in some good strategy, but ultimately they failed. It was interesting in the marshlands where they had the monsters and Katie's use of that. And then obviously after the battle, Oliver going over all the ways that they failed. That was very interesting, looking into that and even getting their own perspectives on his fight and kind of seeing the different ways that could have been and that could have gone down, and just helping each other. This was really cool to see them helping each other and to realistically talk after this to be like, okay, what went well, what went wrong, what could have been better, right? And talking through that and just getting stronger, getting more experience, getting more know-how. This is how the upper grade students get so strong, is they just have this kind of experience, and talking through all that and knowing, okay, what mistakes did I make? I'm not going to make that in the future. Just showing a bit of that and kind of going through that and going through how the different characters can see that for others is really cool. It's some great. I really enjoy getting to see all these characters interact. Whenever you have such a strong main cast as Reign of the Seven Spellblades, and just to keep adding to that and keep working to make them all great still, it's really good. Teresa's little group there, cool for a second years to make it that far. Obviously, they weren't going to get to the finals, but it was still cool to see them kind of there. Guy gets mad about Rita, that kind of thing. Dean and Teresa pull off some shifty tricks, and they do pull off some shifty tricks. Katie and Guy's group, it was a good plan, but obviously they messed up a little bit, and the Richard, Andrews, and Rossi and them were just too strong for them. As it goes, right? I mean, Oliver won his because he had the stronger team, right? And then we get to the final part of this book, which is the upperclassmen prelims. Fourth and fifth happens, cool, right? And then we get to 6th and 7th, and they go through theirs. Godfrey just blasts through stuff, which is extremely interesting. They get through the second layer, right? It's cool because he's like, okay, my plan is to, want everyone to stay together, right? And for the end, this was really cool. I really love this part. They have to fight Professor Aldous, Vanessa Aldous, right? The Tyrant. I was like, ooh, the Tyrant. I was like, are they killing her this volume? Because she's their next target, and that's why she was the end here. It's interesting to put her with the 6th and 7th students, right? Naturally. And they're kind of in, and we get to learn that she was put in specifically because they're like, look, she's probably the next target. Let's see who has the capacity to kill a teacher, that kind of thing. Yeah, again, because a point of this tournament is to figure out who could have killed them, right? Who could have killed Garland and Forchieri. And this was a cool fight. We got a taste of, I assume, what the fight against Aldous is going to look like, where, being the biology teacher, she uses animal parts and modifies her own body to get out of sticky situations. So, like, for example, they buried her. She swam out of it. She swam out of it by growing shark fins. She grows extra limbs. At the end, she's going under a full body transformation before Garland shuts it down. It's like, said you're going to do that. They got legit hits. And she's like, ugh, fine. But it's interesting. I'm really looking forward to seeing, what Oliver's group, what their counter is for her. Because she seems like she has a lot of potentially different things she could do. Obviously, they encountered Forchieri in a way that they were like, okay, we need to get him at his weakest, where he doesn't have access to all of his, labyrinth golems, that kind of thing, and he was still extremely tough. So it's interesting how are they going to nerf all this, and what's their fight going to exactly look like. I'm very confident Bokuto Ono is going to write it, and it's going to be amazing. I'm legitimately extremely thrilled for it. And I liked that he gave us a little taste. I really liked that he gave us a little taste of it here. It was good. It was fun. And she's kind of hot, so I'm sad for her to die soon. But this was a good volume. And then the very, very, very end of it, Cyrus Rivermore steals one of Alvin Godfrey's bones. It started with, you got the merchant lady. She gets one of her bones stolen by Rivermore. Cool. And Godfrey gets one of his bones stolen. He stole a bit of his etheric body. And that's what next volume is about. Volume 8 is about them dealing with that, right? And I think that's going to be pretty much the entire volume. It's going to be I think there's going to be some really cool fights. Because what is Rivermore cooking? Well, what is Rivermore cooking in there, right? What's he brewing up in his cauldron? It's going to be really interesting. I'm really looking forward to all that. What kind of weird thing is going to go on, right? I've looked at I've read the back, and I've read the little color pages at the beginning. Looks like he has a coffin with him. He's probably trying to revive someone. I imagine they'll give him a pretty good backstory. It'll just be interesting to see, why is he the way that he is? What's he cooking up, right? That kind of thing. It's gonna be very fun, and them working to get Godfrey's bone back, and then after this, maybe the election is decided. I could see maybe this being part of the thing that weakens Godfrey's camp, that maybe allows Wally to win. All the election stuff, getting to see Milligan and Wally kind of narrate over the matches was fun. Milligan has become a really fun character. I actually do quite enjoy her and enjoy seeing her, and so I do hope she wins, because I think that it'll be fun. But who knows? I almost think Wally is gonna win. I almost think what the story is going now. I almost think that might happen. But yeah, no, I think that is a phenomenal volume. I'm really excited for Volume 8. One last thing I want to talk about is Ames and Mistral, because at the end it's revealed they're fan characters. There was a contest apparently where people sent in ideas for new characters. Bokuto Ono chose 2 of them, Mistral and Ames, to kind of switch them around a little bit. Creative, and I was like, that's really cool. Typically, I'm not a fan of outside stuff influencing stuff in a story, but these were incorporated extremely good. Like, it's not an example of canon information being given in like an extra volume or something, not like a volume extra, but like a short story online, and it gives like a huge piece of canon information, or like there's like a side story that never is referenced in the mainline story, and then all of a sudden those characters come in and like they're act established. It's kind of odd to explain, but I'm typically not a fan of that. But this was done very well, and it's obviously very different. It's cool that these are little fan characters, and so it kind of sucks. We might not see them again. I hope we get to see Ames again, but I don't know. But it'll be very interesting to see. I think that this was really cool. I could see how Mistral was a fan character, but Ames seemed pretty legit. But they were very fun antagonists this volume. I really enjoyed them, and I think that was a really cool thing that he did. Yeah, no, I really enjoyed it. It was cool. It was a cool little reveal at the end, right? That they were the fan characters. But yeah, no, I'm extremely looking forward to Volume 8. This was a great volume, a truly great volume, and I cannot wait to get into the next one, which I will be doing right after I finish this recording. So if you're this far in the video, obviously there's so many likes, so make sure to like, subscribe, and leave a comment telling us, that's so true, there are 2 people here, telling me what your favorite part of this volume was. I personally, the big fight that took up the majority of the volume is my favorite, right? But if you know what you thought, just let me know what your favorite part was, what you're looking forward to in Volume 8. And thank you all for watching. I hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.